What is the most resilient parasite? Bacteria, a virus, an ancestral worm, an idea. Resilient, highly contagious. Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks right in there somewhere.
It's vaguely familiar. I can't put my finger on it.
Okay.
Um, like at first, I thought you were coming with the virus quote from Matrix, and I was like, wait, that's not that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I did do that one. That's why it feels familiar.
yeah. A hint of some variety.
The director of this movie had a big blockbuster this year.
Blockbusters were there this year.
There was like one that like every theater that was open was just playing the one movie.
Okay, so it's from a Christopher Nolan movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Inception?
It is.
Okay, that's why it sounded familiar.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
Nobody about you feeling spirit is something. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
Welcome to the season 2 finale, part 2 of the Average Joe's Movie Club cast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
And I'm excited because we're going to be talking about hobbits, orcs, and one ring to rule them all as we set out across Middle-earth to talk all about those extended cuts of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy.
And as a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on these films. So if somehow you've not seen like the biggest fantasy trilogy in the last 20 years, skip ahead to avoid any spoilers.
If you want to join the movie club, we're coming back for season 3 coming up next year. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, because we would love to hear from you. So, yeah, so much has gone on between since last time we talked. So yeah, I was telling you about my being on a diet or whatever, and Thanksgiving hit, and I learned that you cannot consume the alcohol and continue your weight loss progression. So like I did a little research. I went on YouTube. I was like, what's the best? Like, cause I always do this movie marathon with my kids, and so I wanted to have a little bit of booze or whatever around just to relax, kick back, watch some movies. And so I settled on Everclear because now the tricky thing about Everclear is
it's paint thinner.
Yeah, it's hard to drink, and like,
well, yes, that's why people put it in PJ and let it soak in fruit and like fruit juice forever. I
took a few shots of like this whole like handle or whatever, but it was mostly like trying to mix it with like fruit smoothies, and you really just had to put just a barely anything in there for it to work. And I didn't cheat too much. I didn't really eat like any like crazy like fried foods or anything for Thanksgiving, and I gained like a couple pounds, and then the next week I was like at the same weight, and then I kind of busted it last week and I was down a pound. So good to be on track. It's so hard to exercise now with it being dark early.
dark, like 5 o'clock. Yeah, it's horrible. But
And yeah, my wife hates me going out and walking at night. Sometimes I just got to. Um, Almost caught up on movie reviews. Got a little bit behind during the Halloween season because all those horror movies are like $1.50, so you can watch maybe 3 of those a night. And got a little behind, but I have one more movie ahead of me because this Lord of the Rings trilogy helped me. Because whenever I do rewatch movie reviews, they're a lot quicker. It only takes like maybe 15 minutes to a half hour compared to like 2 hours. So, yeah, big difference there. And Christmas time's here. Huh? Merry Christmas, Joey. Merry Christmas,
Merry
buddy.
Christmas. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Got my ugly Christmas sweater going on.
So is it just a Vikings jersey or a Gamecocks jersey?
No, it's a sweater. It's a Viking sweater. No, I don't have a Gamecocks ugly sweater. I guess I need to get one of those. Even though it's a very, very sad time to be a Gamecock fan because they were pathetic.
To be fair, any Gamecock
No.
jersey, shirt, sweater, or whatever would be an ugly sweater. So,
No, garnet and black is gorgeous. This is coming from a Clemson fan. It's like, ugh.
I mean,
Orange
you
and
got
purple?
half the color. You got half your colors, right? You got purple. You got the royalty down.
Goodness.
Look, scarlet, garnet, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's just navy red. Okay, that's all it is. It's navy red.
Navy. I've never heard that one before. When I went to my buddy's wedding in Memphis, like I was wearing my Vikings hoodie and I got mistaken as an LSU fan quite a few times. So, yep.
Boo! I'd rather you have Viking stuff than LSU shit.
Oh yeah, that's right. They beat you. They took away your championship last year.
I mean, it wasn't ours. That was Joe Burrow's. Good lord.
Yeah, he was dynamite. But yeah, Gamecock season's over. That was pretty pathetic. I mean, they had this awesome game against Auburn, and then everything else after that was terrible. And
But
then
hasn't everybody had an awesome game against Auburn? Like, didn't Stratford go out there and beat Auburn this year?
my alma mater, Stratford.
Yeah.
That's an interesting reference. I never thought you'd pull out my high school all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, I could pull out my high school, but you like would have just been like, huh? So.
Well, didn't you go to like East Florence or something?
Oh, no. There's South Florence and
Yeah.
West Florence. We don't have East Florence. That's
North
Wilson.
North Florence. I thought it was all
So-
directional in that part of the state.
Yeah. You know, it's not like we're Northwestern, but
Yeah, Christmas time is here, and yeah, we started decorating like the day after Thanksgiving, so I already got all the Christmas lights up and before December even started, so it's nice to kind of have it up and just kind of enjoy it. And yep, got the tree up and yeah, enjoying my Clark W. Griswold house. You do any Christmas decorating over there?
well, no, because we're packing everything up to move.
Yeah.
So that and really don't do a ton. I did purchase like a small tree I can put on a table, which I'll probably do when we get in the new place. But it didn't make really any sense to open it and put it out to turn around and put it back up. So
Yeah, makes sense. I did. So I got something in the mail the other day, and I actually did an unboxing, but I haven't posted it yet because I've been so busy. It's kind of embarrassing because I accidentally ordered the wrong thing. So I got the Midsummer like special edition, like 824, like gorgeous little book thing, and I wanted to get the 4K, but then I'm like flipping through it and I'm like, oh, there's the Blu-ray. Where's the 4K? What is this? And I like paused in the middle of the camera. I'm like, what happened? I wanted the 4K, but I emailed 824 and they're like, no, you ordered the wrong thing. Tough. So I was like, I'm sure it'll look fine either way. But wish I would have the 4K.
I mean, yes, because 1080p looks so terrible, Justin. God.
Well, I mean, if I have a 4K setup, I want the 4K disc. I mean, either way.
That is obvious. I mean, like, but you didn't. It's not like you paid for the 4K and they gave you the Blu-ray, like, because that would suck. So.
But yeah, it's a pretty cool set. Hopefully I'll get that video posted tomorrow when I have a little bit more free time. Yeah, because there's some pretty trippy artwork in there. You haven't seen that movie, have you?
No, it was on my list this year, and I didn't get to it in Halloween. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
So yeah. So how you doing? What you getting into?
I've been doing all right. Working, gearing up for Christmas. I'm gearing up to move. Like I've got a lot of stuff packed up, like all my movies, except for Lord of the Rings, because I was still in the process of watching. We still had to watch Return of the King when I started packing my bookshelf. That and one other movie is not packed because I got it in the mail after I packed everything up, and that's the new Harley Quinn movie. Um, so I bought that on Steelbook on Black Friday.
Okay. I rewatched
From
that on around that time.
on from Best Buy, and so like I bought it and like three other movies, and two were pick up in store, and then one was pick up in store a week later, and then this one, like because I didn't know the situation, so I had it sent to my work address. So I keep checking, the tracking number, and it's like waiting for UPS to pick it up, and I'm like, okay. And then we had some missed packages from the USPS at work, so I had to go to the post office to pick them up, and one of them was that. And I'm like, well, no wonder it wasn't at the UPS hadn't picked it up. It was at my post office. And but what was cool about it was, it was a $35 Steelbook 4K. It was on sale for $15, but it came with a 15-day trial of HBO Max. So
Okay.
I'll be holding out to that until like Christmas Day or Christmas
Mm-hmm.
Eve, and that way I can watch Wonder Woman on Christmas Day.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet that Warner Brothers announced that all of their movies are going straight to HBO Max next year. I'm a big fan of getting to watch stuff at home. Um, so yeah, Wonder Woman. I think Disney Plus is coming out with that Soul movie. So yeah, there'll be a lot of good stuff to watch from home. I'm so behind. Like I wanted to watch Mank, which is like the new Fincher film that's on Netflix, and I wanted to watch that on Sunday, but I've been busy watching LOTR. What's up?
I mean, yeah, that is one that Carl and I are both very interested in, but I've been seeing it kind of get some grief on Letterboxd, so like I
A lot of
just
people
don't
are
know.
saying it's boring, so we'll see.
But and there's a lot of people who say Citizen Kane's boring, so like,
Yeah, subjective.
yeah.
Cool, cool.
But other than moving and working, like Cyberpunk came out today.
Oh yeah, I
I
saw
sold
an
I
ad for that.
sold a bunch of that. Just and that's pretty much it. It's just getting ready for Christmas at work and getting ready to move here at home, and
Hmm.
that's really it. I mean, honestly.
Oh yeah, my movie rewatchathon. So yeah, that went pretty well. We watched 13 movies. And I kind of went about it like my whole like idea about a rewatchathon is like I didn't want to get bogged down like in a whole bunch of reviews I needed to write. So yeah, I just did rewatches and just did like real snappy reviews. And a real interesting thing happened. So I was posting like 4 reviews a day for like 2 days there, and I found myself in the top 50 of Letterboxd. And I was like, oh, look at that. That's pretty nice. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I've discovered the less effort I put in my Letterboxd reviews, the more popular they are. Go figure.
I mean, I'll be real. Like, I'll start reading one of yours, and then sometimes it's like I just kind of scroll towards the end because it's just so long, and it's like,
You don't ever come across my short ones?
I mean, I've come across some of your short ones. They're from like 3 years ago,
Oh.
2 years ago. I
Carl
haven't.
Carl commented on one of them recently. He was like, oh, "That's the shortest thing you've ever written." It was like a quote in a sentence.
It was probably still like 7 pages long. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with you, brother.
Oh my, oh my, and yeah. So yeah, it was kind of cool to jump up in the rankings, kind of see how Letterbox works. Um, so yeah, and I really appreciate all my followers out there. If any of y'all listen to the show, yeah, I really appreciate the support. Um, what else? Oh yeah, 13 movies. So we watched. Yeah, I guess I should run through what we watched. We started off. What did we start off with? Jaws 3. Technically, or no, we started off with Jaws 4 because Tanner wanted to watch that first thing in the morning. Actually, they started watching Jaws 3 before I even got up. Then we went to Harley Quinn, and then we watched the Star Wars Holiday Special Lego thing, which wasn't really part of the marathon since that was a new watch, but that was a lot of fun. I recommend that. And then it was Gannon's turn, so we watched Klaus, which is a really good Netflix show that came on last year, Santa Claus deal. What was after Klaus? Oh yeah, I wanted to rewatch 1917. So I rewatched that, and I pretty much felt the same way about it. And then we watched Tremors, which is a good time. We watched Brightburn, which was a pretty good time. Then we called it a night, and then the next day we got into Polar Express off the bat, and then it was my turn again, so we watched Last Action Hero. That was a good time, and then it was Tanner, and he wanted to watch Tremors 2. And then when we got back from my sister's house for Thanksgiving, we watched, what did we watch? Oh yeah, we watched A Quiet Place, so got to watch that again, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and at that point, the kids had kind of fallen asleep, and then I watched Election by myself. So we got up to 13 movies.
Did you say Election?
Election, yeah, that was my last
Oh,
one.
awesome. I just picked that up not that long ago.
And I've been doing, a lot, just to kind of catch up on my reviews. I've been doing a lot of rewatches lately, with, like I said, with shorter reviews, and I've been catching up with so I sew Boy Scout patches. And sometimes I'll do it. Like, I mean, for most of the fellowship, I was just sewing merit badges. So, like, if I've seen a movie before, I don't mind, like, doing a little sewing. I know I'm watching it, but, do you ever do busy work on when you're watching anything?
I mean, if it's a rewatch, especially if it's something I've seen a bunch, like when I started packing, like I put on like Scott Pilgrim, and then I think the next time I was packing, like I did Bloodsport. Although it's been a little bit longer since I had seen that, so I got a little more caught up in watching it than packing. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. All right, instead of doing any games tonight, we are just going to go into our top 10-ish new watches of the year. And then maybe there's a cheater or two in there. Who knows? We'll see. All right. So, Joey, you want to tee us off? I'm actually I numbered mine, but they're not actually in order. So I'm actually going to kind of figure this out as we go along.
All right. Well, I see that you do have a cheater, so I'll also cheat one time. I'll go with my number 11, and I really wanted this in the top 10. I couldn't get it there, and that was a $1 Million Baby.
Okay.
Right on the outside. Like my whole top 15, I wanted like in the top 10, but obviously that doesn't work. So,
Joey has a much easier time with this list because he makes the list all year long. Where right before the show, I scroll through my entire 500 movies or whatever I watched this year and be like, all right, that's 5-star. Let me grab that. 5-star. Let me grab that. So.
yes, and this is also in like that for me enjoying them, not necessarily which ones I think are better per se. But I'm just gonna do all of them while you figure yours out. Is that what we're doing?
No. Well, I figure we bounce back and forth.
Okay, so yeah, $1 Million Baby.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah. So my honorable mention, Cheater. I really couldn't put this in my top 10, but it was a real good guilty pleasure. I watched the Eurovision Song Contest with Will Ferrell on Netflix, and I just thought it was gonna be dumb. And I actually got really emotionally invested in this silly Will Ferrell comedy. It's probably the funniest thing I've seen him in since Blades of Glory. Like, I'm not an Elf fan. I'm not a Ron Burgundy fan at all. But Blades of Glory and Eurovision, it did it for me. It has your girl, is it Rachel McAdams?
Oh yeah, Rachel McAdams is. Yeah, Regina George is pretty hot. That's a pretty true statement.
And they had the whole Scandinavian thing. That probably did it a lot for me too. But yeah, I thought it was a good time. I'm one of the few people on Letterboxd who's just like, hey, I had a great time with this, and everyone else is like, this is dumb. So
I mean, it's a Will Ferrell movie. Like, that's kind of what you're looking for. I can't believe you didn't like the first Anchorman. I've never seen the second one. I've heard it's not very good, but the first Anchorman was aces.
just not a fan.
That's fair. You are more of a Jim Carrey guy.
Jim Carrey, what's that have to do with it?
You and your like 5 million stars for Dumb and Dumber.
I think I gave that 4.5, 5 million.
Yeah, it's 5 million.
It's a classic comedy.
So was Anchorman.
Oh, that's debatable. No, I mean, all right. What's your number 10?
Now number 10. I think this is the first of like 5 criterions up in this piece.
Up
It's
in
the Red
this.
Shoes.
Okay, that's a recent watch for you.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. It was really, really good. It just kind of stuck with me. It'd be one like I got it on Criterion DVD for like $1. It'd probably be one I would pick up on the Blu-ray to upgrade at some point. But
All right. My number 10, I guess I'll go with Brain Dead. That is that Peter Jackson crazy ass horror comedy, like one of the bloodiest films ever. Finally got to that this Halloween season, and it was quite delightfully hilarious, and I enjoyed Brain Dead and with all its gore. You should watch it.
not,
It's on YouTube.
I will check that out. Actually, that's the one I'm interested in.
Although you
Also,
don't like
Peter.
Evil Dead 2, so it might not be your thing.
Yeah, but I love Zombieland and I love The Babysitter.
Okay.
So horror comedy is either fucking balls in 5 stars or like 1 star for me usually. So all right, my number 9 was actually my number 1400 on Letterboxd, and that was
Oh.
Schindler's List.
Sad.
Just oh yeah, it was a sad movie, but it was just so good and so powerful.
I feel like singing the soundtrack, but I don't want to do injustice to it. It's awesomeness.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Like I had it sitting like right outside my top 10 until we went to go make
I
this list.
challenge you to watch Showa next year. How about that?
Oh, Show is one I almost bought it during the sale. Like, and I just decided that I wanted multiples instead of one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because
That's like a $60 one, isn't it?
it's 50 when it's half off.
Okay.
So, but I got 4 movies 2 different times at 80. So like, but yeah, I'll get there. I'll probably make a note to get it during the sale in July or something. Hopefully, Barnes still exists.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, my next one. I guess I'll go with The Immigrants. I'm not sure if I talked about this on the show. This is like 2 films, both I think either 3.5 to 4 hours a piece. So obviously it was a little intimidating to jump into these, but it's all about like the Swedish experience of like being in Sweden and then moving to the United States. Back during like the mid 1800s, and I think I had read a book about this in college, and so it was really cool to see all that on screen for the first time. That's like my heritage. So I was real proud of myself that I finally muscled through that, and it was a really good show. So I'm glad I finally watched both The Immigrants and The Newfoundland.
Okay.
Also starring girl from Persona. Gosh, what's her name?
Bergman, Ingrid Bergman.
That sounds right. Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's great in those movies.
I think that's right. Like that's off the top of my head. I could probably be totally wrong, and someone will like critique us like crazy for it.
Let me look it up while you start talking.
All right, number 8. This will be second criterion in my first foreign language movie, and that is from the wonderful Mr. Kurosawa, High and Low.
Very nice.
And
I don't even know if I've seen any new Kurosawas this year. That'd be really weird. Go ahead.
Yeah, I might no, because I got Sanjuro in like January because we watched Yojimbo at the end of last year. So
I'm thinking. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Liv Ullmann.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, you're correct. But yeah, High and Low. If you've never seen it, like it's just so different than all the other Kurosawas I've watched. I think it was only the second one that I watched that wasn't Samurai's, because we watched A Deskadin last year or last season, or
Yeah.
I think both of those statements are accurate. So yeah, no, this is just a fantastic movie.
Cool. What I think next I'll go with the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Yeah, that was a delightful time. Such a colorful. Such a neat musical to hear it all sung in French like that, and had the bittersweet ending. It's like, oh, that's like La La Land. And so I enjoyed talking that to my buddy Joey, who loved that movie so much.
I love La La Land and The Umbrellas. That was our first episode of this season, which if you have not caught, you can go find on YouTube. That's our musical special.
Or Buzzsprout.
Yep, Buzzsprout. And then Buzzsprout takes you everywhere else. Spotify. So,
All right.
all right, number 7. This one is actually another foreign movie, and this one was one of the ones from Spooktober that made it, and that is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Oh, neat.
Um, yeah, actually, I don't think it's. I think it was American, but just in foreign language. So, yeah, but it's set in Iran. They speak Persian. It's about a vampire, and it's all in black and white. It was just real eerie, and it's one of those movies I finished watching and it like stuck with me. And I honestly thought it was going to be my favorite movie from Halloween time, and then there was another one that surpassed it. Which, if you watched our Halloween special, you'll know what it is.
Do I remember? Maybe we'll find out in
Oh,
that.
probably find out in the rest of this list. Soft, good chance.
All right, what do I want to pick next? I guess next I'll go with the Gene Dillman, Saint and Tango combo. Like, yeah, I kind of prided myself on watching some really big beast epics, which finishing out doing the same thing for the show. Um, I would say I definitely prefer Gene Dillman 23 Quad do Commerce 1080 Bristles. That was such a unique experience to get sucked into that. Even though I split it up into 3 nights, I still really got absorbed in how like this lady's doing like these chores and that's like all you're seeing. But as it goes on, like things become unhinged and you gradually see that like come to screen, and it was really cool to see that um, play out. And then spent I think 4 or 5 nights getting through Satan Tango, which is just a bizarre 7 hour movie. I need to watch some more of that LOTR. He has a couple more movies that aren't quite as long, but they're depressing and probably lots of long takes and stuff. So yeah, the combo of the gargantuan movies I actually got through this year.
Nice. So number 6 is Criterion and foreign, and was my number one horror movie, and that was Kuroneko.
All right.
So, yeah, the Black Cat. Um, just this just very haunting horror samurai movie, and it's just and like revenge plot to a degree. So obviously, I'm stoked. And that's just one, like, again, like if you just haven't seen it, then I can't recommend it enough to pick up. I actually was kind of sad when they didn't have it at Barnes when I did the sale, but there's always next time.
All right, I'm up again. Let's see here. I'll go with my I guess I'll go with Dolomite next. Yeah, we watched that for the show. Yeah, to watch that on Netflix, and I never got around to watching it when it first came out, and then we wanted to do it for the show. Perfect excuse, and yeah, I mean, I love movies about making movies, and that one's a great one. Um, I watched Black Dynamite afterwards, which is also like a tribute to blaxploitation. So I've yet to actually see an actual blaxploitation movie, but got a couple on the list to check out, including Dolomite itself. And Joey loves to quote Dynamite, or Joey loves to quote Dolomite.
Yeah, I definitely quote that a lot in my reviews. Dolomite is in my top 20. I really enjoyed it, and I did watch the black exploitation Foxy Brown this year.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. It was like really high in my list, and then we just started churning out bangers, and it just kind of dropped a little bit.
Hmm.
But Foxy Brown was 25, so
Nice.
yeah. All right, now we're into the nitty gritty. Top 5, and I was just noticing this. So just for your personal preference, since so many of the movies that we've watched from season 1 were near the bottom of my list last year. All 5 of these were ones we watched on the cast. So,
Oh wow.
all right, and then this number 5 is one you did back in season 1 when we still had the challenge. This is one you challenged me to, and that was Fargo.
Oh, don't you know? That's a good
Don't you know?
show. That's a real
Yeah,
good show.
that's a damn good movie. So Cohen's had my number one spot last year with The Big Lebowski. This year they're in the top 5. That's pretty good. Sitting around for them. So they're 2 years in a row in there. I think Kurosawa's got 3 years in a row. So they're getting up there.
I need to watch a new Coen movie one of these days. I do. All right, what do I want to pick next? I guess next I would go with Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. So, yeah, this is a fun little rom-com. And if you're a Criterion fan or just a movie fan in general, you'll be like, look at all the movie references. I've seen that. And I watched that one night really late after the show, and yeah, it's real sweet. They have some hilarious little movie reenactments throughout there. They reference one of my favorite movies, Clockwork Orange. Just these obscure things. Like there's a Criterion called Burden of Dreams, which is like the documentary about Fitzcarraldo. And they have a bunch of references to that documentary or whatever. Yeah, I actually kind of made a short list of Criterions in my head that I wanted to watch after I saw that, because it's like, oh, I haven't seen that. So still more I got to see, but chipping away one movie at a time. Mirror on the Dying Girl, good time.
All right, so to continue the every other movie being a Criterion, well, this one is a Criterion. It is also foreign, and let's just say when I finished watching it, I was California dreaming. So it's Warkong Wise Chungking Express, and there's another one that just stuck with me for so long after I watched it, and I just want to watch it again. And I just pre-ordered the box set tonight before we came and recorded, having seen only that movie. Now I own In the Mood for Love, but haven't watched it yet. So I guess I'll own that movie twice. But I've double dipped so many times now, it's not even that surprising.
I like Chungking better, but yeah, it'll be interesting whenever you watch more of those. I've only seen the two, In the Mood for Love and Chungking.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. I will, like, I've got a couple of box sets that haven't been busted, I haven't even busted into yet, and that one I will probably like try to bust into immediately. So
I think my next one will be, goodness, this is getting tough. I'll go with Locke next. Locke is that of course I'm gonna blank as soon as I want to say the actor's name. Tom Hardy. It's the Tom Hardy car movie where he's on the phone the whole time. But oh my gosh, like it's such a relatable story. I found this guy just kind of going through this like hour of being in the car and dealing with all these crises one after another, and I found it super relatable, and just the way he approached things was so cool, and like the relationship you see him like develop with his son throughout, it's really knocked me away with what a minimalist film like that could do. So Locke, gotta check it out.
I'll keep that in mind. All right, number 3, and this is my last foreign movie and my last Criterion movie, and this movie's second time in the top 10 because it was in yours, and that's Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Just a damn fine movie. Like, and it's just like Justin said, it's so beautifully colored. All the songs are fantastic. The story is great, and then my tie-in is because it's what's inspired La La Land, and I just love La La Land so much, and like it's just a fantastic movie. And like if you haven't seen it, you should just go watch it. It's great.
All right, next. I guess we're in the top 3 now.
Yep, this will be your number 3.
I'll go with I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the Charlie Kaufman directed film on Netflix. Oh man, the thing I enjoyed so much it was kind of a trip the first time watching it, and then I literally spent like 7 hours. I spent a long time like gradually watching back through the thing and like writing my thoughts and my interpretations on each thing. I wrote a long ass review on this thing on like what I thought it was. And the reason that was kind of exciting was I didn't watch any interpretations. I just went all on what I thought. And although I was like really far off on a few things, I don't care. That was my interpretation. And like a lot of people kind of appreciated what I did. Actually, like the main thing at the end, like I got completely wrong. It was weird because I like thought one thing. I'm like, well, maybe I should think another thing because of like feminism, but it was in like a whole nother thing, which I wasn't familiar with the book. So I think a lot of people who had read the book were more kind of in tune with what was going on there at the end. But it was a very Mulholland Drive like puzzle, and I really enjoy getting my fingers into stuff like that. So I'm thinking of ending things. Yeah, you should check it out, Joey. It's a trippy, good time.
I'll keep that in mind. Okay, so we're in my top two, and I'm really just gonna say this is 1A and 1B. Like
Okay.
they're both just number one, and they're both so fantastic. And um, the Whiplash is what we're gonna say is 1B. This is what I have listed at number two. But
Okay.
there's another one we watched for the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And it's just
We both had the same tempo.
yes. Well, go figure that it's the same director as La La Land, and it was just fantastic. J.K. Simmons is fantastic, but like in this movie, it's like, man, I want to go punch that guy in the face. Like, it's. I was so excited. Like, I ordered the 4K Steelbook from Best Buy and then forgot about it, and it just showed up in the mail one day, and it was like the greatest day ever. Like, I was like,
Nice.
did I order a movie? Like, I don't. It's like, if I gotten so bad that I'm forgetting that I'm ordering them, and then it was like, oh wait, I ordered this like 4 months ago. No wonder I don't remember
Oh
it.
wow.
Like,
Was it pre-order then?
yeah, it was a
Okay.
pre-order. Like as soon as it came up, I was like pre-order, because the Blu-ray Steelbook was so hard to find, and then I was just like, yeah, give me this. So
Nice. My number two is kind of a cheater because I've technically seen it before, but it was so long ago that I barely remembered it. It was Tom Hanks in Big. Um, wow, what a show! I remember really enjoying it as a kid, but I mean, as an adult, you have like this whole like other appreciation for this story where a kid wants to be an adult and then he learns the value of wanting to be a kid again after he's like become an adult, and Tom Hanks's acting is absolutely perfect. It gets a little weird because like he turns into an adult and then he hooks up with a girl and they do adult stuff, so you could like ticky tack like pick on that for that, but what an experience. It had my tears going thinking about all that nostalgia. Had a good time writing my review on that one. Big Tom Hanks.
oh yeah, that's I mean Tom Hanks, especially at that point, he was like in his prime or about to hit his prime. So
Yeah, just on the cusp, I would say. Yeah.
so and my number one is from director Billy Wilder, and we also watch this for the podcast, and it's Audrey and Bogey. I mean, like how it's so hard to compete against Audrey and Bogey. It's Sabrina. And it's just a silly, cheesy rom com basically. But I'm a sucker for those, and then two, both of those actors are phenomenal. They're like the pinnacle of like old Hollywood essentially, and the movie was great. I had such a great time. It was like all the jokes hit. So yeah, I when it nudged out Whiplash and I put it in the one slot. I was like, yeah, this I don't see anything beating it. So
Hmm. You haven't seen Some Like It Hot yet, have you?
no, but I bought it
You
in the
should
last
watch. You
sale.
should watch that this year. That's Marilyn. I mean, Audrey's nice, but Marilyn, come on now.
Mm, I think Audrey is better looking.
Okay. Have you seen
I
any
mean,
Marilyn stuff?
I've only seen her in Asphalt Jungle where she was
Ah,
like a babe and like a babe and a babe. But
oh,
don't
should
get me
watch that then.
wrong. I ain't trying to say Marilyn ain't a very or wasn't a very attractive lady because let's be real, she's like what people think of when they think of beauty. But like there's just something about Audrey.
Hmm.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe if I
I
maybe if
get
I
that
watch
too.
some more. But yeah, no,
Nice.
I picked up Some Like It Hot because it was another Billy Wilder, and because oh, well, this is Marilyn Monroe, I should watch some of her stuff.
All right, so my number one. So I watch a lot of movies late at night, and so a lot of times like I'll watch like an hour and take a break, and I kind of expected to do that with this, but I was like so drawn in that I stayed up super late to finish it, and I was just bawling my fucking eyeballs out watching Spotlight. I didn't think much of it when it won the Academy Award. I was just like, oh, it's this thing about like the pre-scandal. But man, watching that play out and watching those incredible performances of those journalists like talking to victims and saying how what a travesty it was that like these innocent kids got totally uh what's the word taken advantage of by like priests, people that they were supposed to be able to trust and confide in. It was just totally heartbreaking. It reminded me a lot of watching All the President's Men, because I was a journalist at one point, so I have that's a part of me for sure. And it inspired me to make my my journalism movie list. So that's gotten a little bit of traction on Letterboxd. But man, Spotlight, I didn't expect anything from it, and it knocked me on my ass, and I'm glad it did. And those are yeah. I think it says a lot about us, Joey, going through our tops of the year.
Yeah, like looking at like 2019 and then like 2018, like they're so different all the way around. So, but we both put Umbrellas in ours, so I mean that goes to show. And I think that's Carl's number one. So like it just goes to show that like that's how good of a movie that is.
Red was still your top color? That was your top colors movie?
Yeah, those movies were so good. Like I feel like they would have been in any other year, like or if it had been last year where I was watching like a lot of schlocky stuff. Yeah, Red is my top colors movie.
That's unfortunate.
And then Blue, and then White. So.
Gotcha. All right, so it's time for the Big Daddy conversation. Let's talk about some Lord of the Rings.
Boy, howdy.
And I would say it's not enough for me to say that I'm a super fan of this trilogy. It's just like I said, it's in me. It's a part of my life. It's for so long it has been. I mean, you picked the movies. You want to tell me a little bit of your history with these?
I was about to say, yeah, like oddly enough, you're like the super fan, and I'm the one that picked it. So, do you remember us playing the Two Towers on GameCube?
That's a fond memory of mine. Yes, that was when we first started hanging out.
Yeah,
like
dude,
we should play video games. Oh, what you got? I got this Lord of the Rings beat 'em up on GameCube. Two Towers, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. I was talking about that while watching Two Towers.
You helped me beat it, I think. I hadn't gotten all the way through it. You got me over the hump.
Because Legolas was so overpowered because he had like you could shoot multiple arrows, and so it was just like I'm gonna stand back here. Oh look, the whole army's dead. Gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that in NCAA football, we had Mordor University in our dynasty.
I forgot about that. There's so much of me in Lord of the Rings.
That was your created team in our dynasty was Mordor University, and I made the Winthrop Eagles. Or, yeah. I think it was the Winthrop Eagles. That or I made team like Team Teak, but you made Mordor.
Yeah, that says a lot about me. Oh gosh, it goes so deep. I'm like, I didn't prepare much for this because I'm just gonna let it go where it goes. I'm glad you brought up that memory.
Honestly, the movies and like the video games were my introduction. Like I didn't read the books until after I finished watching the trilogy.
Okay.
I was not anything I knew about. I didn't know about The Hobbit. I didn't know about Lord of the Rings. Like, and then all of a sudden the movies came out and there were these grand sweeping things and taking the world by storm in the early 2000s, and it's like, oh well, these are dope as fuck.
Oh.
So
wow.
it was really good to rewatch them. Like,
and to preface this, whenever me and Joey were in college or whatever, it was right before Return of the King came out. So, It was still a thing.
Yeah, because I got the extended like the trilogy for Christmas on DVD, which I still have, and that year, like the year I think in like '04, so what would have been my sophomore year, which was your sophomore year, but
Hmm.
and it was just like I remember just like, well, I haven't seen Return of the King yet, like put this bitch in, and it's like,
Yeah,
you
I was
know,
wondering about that if we had. I think because I went to see Return of the King like 6 times in the theater, like a couple times down in Charleston, and then a couple times with like random friends up at Winthrop. And it's like, gosh, I think the only movie we ever saw in the theater was The Passion of the Christ. So it's
yeah,
kind of
because
it's crazy
I
to
was
me
so
that
broke.
it must have been right after Return of the King kind of died down. Even though I mean it probably would have still been in theaters.
Probably so. It's it. I just don't remember when it came out.
I mean it would come out with like mid December in like
Yeah, December 2003. So I mean, we got to Winthrop in like what, August?
yeah.
So the question is then if that launched during that snowstorm, the blizzard.
Well, Passion did, and that's whenever we no, that's kind of like when we started hanging out big time. So, I guess it's my turn to kind of say my history with it. So when I was in middle school, my best friend John Dunlap, he handed me this book called The Hobbit, and he's like, "Justin, you're gonna read this," and so I did. Um, I was talking to my mom, and she had read it herself, and she had read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So it's like, oh, read what my mom read, and yeah, I remember reading through Hobbit pretty easily. Enjoyed that quite a bit. Um, a few years later, on like a New Year's Eve, we rented the Lord of the Rings like Batchy animated movie, which he thought John. So I was watching this with John, and he thought it was gonna be like the whole trilogy, like jammed into this movie, and it's actually only the Fellowship and Two Towers. It was I remember watching it through, and since I wasn't really familiar with the trilogy yet, like it'd be like we'd be like get a little ways into the movie. I'm like, okay, is this still Fellowship? He's like, yeah, this is still Fellowship. All right, is this Two Towers yet? He's like, I don't remember. Justin, shut up. So, yeah, we watched, and then yeah, it ended right after Helm's Deep, and he's just like, all right, I guess we turn over the VHS and or we no turn over the DVD or whatever it was, and yeah, that was all. Um, for anyone unfamiliar with the cartoons, they made like a Hobbit cartoon that was made by Rankin Bass, which same folks that did like the all those Christmas specials like the Rudolph and stuff. Um, and then Batchy did the Lord of the Rings, which covered the Fellowship and Two Towers. Which, if you look at my letterbox, I did like a whole comparison of like how that film tracks with like the Peter Jackson films. So that was kind of fun to put together. And then yeah, they didn't do a Return of the King Batchy. They went back to Rankin Bass for Batch or for the Return of the King. And I remember not. I've seen it twice, and I remember not liking it as much the second time. So I should probably get back to it. There's some really corny songs in those Rankin Bass ones. And then after that, sometime I started reading the books, and I got through Fellowship pretty easily. But then, man, with Two Towers, like I just remember like reading page after page after page of Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli running after these damn orcs, and I was like, "Where's this going?" And I just kind of burnt out. Um, and then the movies came, so Fellowship. Actually, I mean, do you own any Lord of the Rings stuff?
So shockingly, no. Despite the fact that I always like tell people that I like it more than Star Wars, I own all this Star Wars stuff, and I own only the trilogy and the books, and I own the trilogy twice because I own it on DVD and Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have, like I don't have like any swords or replicas or
Ooh.
like a shirt or figures or anything, which is kind of shocking. But
Hmm.
um, so
I think so. Whenever the movies were coming out, they had these like goblet glasses from Burger King with like light up bottoms, and I collected a couple of those. So I had those for a long time. If I had Lord of the Rings stuff, a lot of it, like I think the only Lord of the Rings stuff I have now is my three steelbooks, which I collected a couple years ago. One really cool thing I had is that part where like they're going down the river and they see the big statues with the guys with their hands out. I had
Bookends.
bookends with those for a long time. For all my Lord of the Rings books, I've owned them in soft and hard. I'm sure they're in a box somewhere. I want to say like I owned an Aragon like figure one time. Someone probably gave that to me. One of my best memories is I had the soundtrack, and I would invite my buddy to spend the night over the weekend, and I wouldn't turn off my CD player alarm clock, and so it would be like 5 a.m. and it would be blasting. Do, 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 do. He's like, Justin, shut up, shut that off. Of course, it was John again.
I guess I should mention that like I don't have actual memorabilia. I do since I play Magic the Gathering one year for Christmas. The girl I was dating at the time, because Lord of the Rings was kind of a big deal between the both of us. Like I gave her my first Blu-ray trilogy, at one point in time, so that's why I had to rebuy it. But she got me some altered magic cards that were from Lord of the Rings. So it's like the picture of them like walking across the plains or whatever.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so they're really cool.
And
like
Fellowship,
I don't even
right?
play with them. Yes, I keep those like as like they're stashed away, where they can't get messed up or anything. Okay. So yeah, so I do have those. I just don't have any like official, anything. We should work on that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, do you have a favorite character?
I'm torn. I have probably two favorite characters, and they're just it's like cliche, but I mean like Legolas. I mean he's freaking dope. He does just as we kept saying like throughout the movies. Legolas is back on his bullshit. Like, oh, he's skating down a stairs on a shield, just murdering people. Oh, he just took down the elephant by himself.
Yep.
Legolas back on his bullshit.
Luke Skywalker style.
Right. Oh, you mean like that old guy from that one movie? We got to do that thing from that movie. Oh, that's Spider-Man. Excuse me. And then you got
You know where I'm getting at with that with Luke and the AT-AT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, that's why I made the Spider-Man reference because that's how they took down Giant Ant-Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's
okay.
like,
I'm
slow.
slow.
That thing like
you
that,
went another.
that
You went
old
another
movie.
direction. You got to stay on my groove.
And then how do you not like Aragorn? Like, he's just badass, and like, I think he's the main character. I know he will be like, oh, it's Frodo. Frodo can fuck right off. Okay.
Ooh. Ouch. It's fighting words.
Look. And it's Aragorn, and I'm gonna say this. All right. So, what's the name of the third movie? It's not The Walk to Mount Doom. It's not. Oh, I threw the ring in Mount Doom. It's Return of a King.
Getting
Who's
feisty
the king?
now.
Aragorn. And on that same point, I'd like to point out to Randall Graves, and I'm going to assume also Kevin Smith. I know you're never going to hear this. There is only one return. You're correct. And it is of the fucking king, not the Jedi. I'm just going to throw that out there.
So I've been a contrarian most of my life when it came to Lord of the Rings fandom. And so when I was reading I remember my friend described the character Boromir, and then reading that like how like he's just battling.
King of the North.
Anyways, so it's all about like Boromir's last stand there fighting the orcs at the very end of Fellowship. It's probably the scene in Lord of the Rings I've seen the most. Him getting filled up like a pincushion and still taking out orcs, all badass Viking style. So Boromir's always been kind of my go-to. I like Gandalf a lot. He looks awfully goofy there at the end, laughing though. And he's kind of have you ever heard of the movie term Deus Ex Machina?
I mean, I've watched the movie Deus Ex Machina.
Okay, so basically that is a thing and a story to where it shows up and makes things like work out for the characters all of a sudden, kind of thing. So like the Eagles are definitely a Deus Ex Machina because they just show up and help out, and like the Ghost Army, kind of the same thing. Although the Ghost, we'll get there to the Ghost Army. So Gandalf's kind of like that because I mean he just kind of goes away so like they can get in trouble, and then he shows back up to kind of help them out later. So
I mean, he's kind of like a god character. He's like super god tier. Like it's kind of silly. I'm a big fan of like Merry and Pippin.
Okay,
They're definitely the
I like
better
their drinking
two hobbits.
songs.
Although they're the ones, it's like if they weren't here, there'd be so much less mischief and problems. And
Oh yeah.
but
Now let's talk about like the lead up to the first movie. I don't remember trailers. All I remember, I have a firm memory of everybody being excited to see Harry Potter, and me being in high school not giving a shit about Harry Potter and being like, I can't wait for my Lord of the Rings. It's gonna blow your fucking Potter shit out my ass. Um, I since enjoy the Harry Potter films quite a bit, but I was all LOTR boy back then. And
well, yes, if you were, because that was it. It was Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. You didn't like both. You liked one or the other.
oh,
If you were like our age, because if you are our age, like Harry Potter, especially like with kids as they were kids at the start of the
right.
the trilogy, the 800 movies that's
Crazy
in
they
that
came out
set.
the same year.
Um, so yeah, it was one or the other. Like it's kind of like that South Park episode where you're like, "You guys want to play Harry Potter?" And Cartman's like, "Fuck you, we're playing Lord of the Rings." Like,
Nice.
so yeah, it's kind of that same deal. Like you picked one or the other. I mean, I also have since seen all of the Harry Potters. It took me quite a while to watch them. But
I didn't.
I
I,
enjoyed
I
them.
really resented that until my dad made me watch Order of the Phoenix. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And yeah, I've since. I mean, there's a lot of really good movies in there, but yeah, Lord of the Rings. That's my original one. So yeah, I've always had that little part of me where I've had like little rivalries on little things for no reason, but they're like mine, and I take ownership of them. So I don't remember any trailers. Definitely remember seeing Fellowship on opening day. I'm pretty sure I saw it 3 times. I saw it once with my buddy John the first time. I think once with Christina, and then like once with my family. At the very least, I saw it 3 times. So yeah, you saw in the You saw Fellowship in the theater.
I didn't see any of them in theater, if my memory serves. If I did, I don't remember it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was back. The Return of the King's coming out our freshman year of college. So it was my senior year and my junior year. My parents didn't go to movies. I didn't really have money, so the only way I got to see any movies if someone like paid for me. So I mean, I remember seeing Attack of the Clones because it came out on my 17th birthday, in theater. And I think, did the 2 Matrix movies come out that summer before he went to school? I think so. I remember watching both of them in theater with Troy. So
Okay. Wow. Definitely coming at this from different perspectives. That's all good. All right. Now, I mean, there's so much you can talk about with these movies. I guess we'll briefly talk about like some of like the design. Okay, so yeah, it was shot in New Zealand. Peter Jackson's from New Zealand. God bless Peter Jackson for making it into 3 movies. I think he fought with the studio. No, I think he's like, I think, oh gosh, I've heard so many different things. I think he was like originally going to do 2, and then he said 3, and they said fine, and there you go. And that's probably the reason why Twilight got split into so many different parts, and we have that to blame for. But yeah, New Zealand is Middle Earth. It's gorgeous. My half uncle has his daughter moved down to that part of the world, and he's been to Hobbiton and took some pictures down there. So they still have all that stuff up in New Zealand, which is pretty awesome.
oh yeah, that would be like if I ever went to that area of the world, like bruh, that's on the list. But yeah, now if only he had fought to keep the Hobbit, 1 movie or 2 movies, not 3.
Yeah, need to revisit that, but yeah, that's extremely drawn out. I mean, the production. I mean, I remember watching all the behind the scenes documentary stuff where it showed like you had like they made a sword after sword, and like Jackson had to like approve everything. And gosh, there's so many special features I used to watch on these things back in the day, and it's been forever, but man, it's just so much and it's so awesome. The special effects, like I remember like the more I watch these, the more I notice like the like how they use tricks in order to make the hobbits look smaller. I definitely didn't notice it at first, and yeah, the more I've watched it, that's picked up for me. How about you?
I just, I think I said it in one of my reviews that I wrote. It's like, the special effects still look good, but you definitely can tell that they're dated at this point. But because they were probably so cutting edge at the time, like the CGI, that it's like, yeah, it's dated, but
I would only say there's a handful of scenes throughout the whole thing where like in the Mines of Moria, like whenever like the big pillar thing there, or the staircase thing they're standing on is like falling, and like or whatever, you can kind of tell the background's fake. And I noticed a little bit on Mount Doom at the very end this time that the background stood out, but there's just a few points. But I mean Gollum, holy shit, Gollum's like perfect.
I mean, I could tell that Gollum was because he was so prominent. It was like, yeah, this is. I remember thinking this looked so good, and everyone did think it looked good. I mean, it still looks good, but you can tell. And I think we're also so accustomed to being like, oh, there's CGI now, And back then it was just like, oh, okay. When they did some of the scenes and they would show the whole army like across the fields and stuff like that, it's like, okay. I think maybe the worst one was when her name was Erwin. I think that's right.
The Rohan chick?
Yeah, the chick from
Eowyn?
Eowyn, yeah. The chick who wanted to bone Aragorn, and he was like...
There's some really interesting things with her in the extended cuts that I never noticed.
He's like, I want to get with Liv Tyler, like, back off.
And that's Eowyn.
And,
that drives me nuts, that the two female interests is Eowyn and Arwen.
Yeah, she was Arwen.
That's what I said.
Yeah, Arwen and Eowyn. Yeah.
Right, you're very close.
Yes, they are. It's like, what the fuck? Anywho,
Blondie and Brunetti.
Hot ass elf bitch. Badass hot ass elf bitch. But anyway, she stabs Blondie, stabs the Witch King in the face, and like the way it like crumbled and stuff. I was like, yeah. But
really?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, but overall, like everything they did with Minas Tirith and in Helm's Deep and like everything else just looked fantastic. The movies are gorgeous. Like,
yeah,
you could just sit there and it's like Peter Jackson was like, I'm John Ford. Nature shot. Scrolling nature shot.
But then you got the big score and somebody riding with a horse. It's not just a nature shot. We're not talking about Terrence Malick now.
No, that's why I said John Ford. Because people are riding horses in his fucking nature shots.
Interesting.
Anywho, I digress. But yes,
oh gosh, cast. I mean, everybody knows who plays who. I mean, shoot, Elijah Wood, and Rudy.
Rudy. I don't know. Will Turner up in the house.
Yeah, Orlando Bloom. Whenever I was in high school, I wanted a son. I was going to name him Orlando, and Christina's like, "Hell no, he's not going to be no Orlando."
You should have put your foot down on that, brother. Or should have been like, "We're going to name him Will Turner."
So,
you should have been like, "Okay, not Orlando, Legolas."
And then a dude from it blew my. I never realized the dude from Raiders of the Lost Ark was Gimli until I was watching the special features. I was like, "Whoa, that's Gimli." So, yeah, fantastic cast. You could go on and on with that. Brad Dourif as Wormtongue later on. You got
Ian McKellen,
Christopher Lee.
Who Tolkien wanted to be Gandalf, but
he got Tolkien's approval to be Gandalf, but yeah, he was, I guess, too evil to be Gandalf.
Right. I mean, he actually was someone who knew Tolkien, so apparently he was the guy when they had questions. They went to him because he also was like one of the only people who had read the books. Apparently, read them a ton.
I still haven't seen that Tolkien movie that came out. That's supposed to be like about Tolkien's life, like I guess leading up to writing them. All right, so let's get into some favorite moments. Because Because usually I write like a bunch of notes for these shows, but this time, like, I already wrote a bunch of notes like a few years ago. Oh, so the last time I watched these movies was for my Black Friday movie marathon, and so we watched all three in the same day, like Fellowship in the morning, and then we went to Best Buy and got some pizza, and then we watched Two Towers, and then wrapped up that night with Return of the King, all the theatrical versions. Um,
Which saved you 17 hours.
yeah.
Okay, I mean probably like 4, but still.
No, it was 9 hours. I mean, it was a long day, and like I was dragging in the middle of Two Towers because that movie. Anyways, we'll get there. Yeah. And so I have a weird admission to make. Like Fellowship, the only one of these I had actually seen the extended cut all the way through was Fellowship. So the weird thing about the darn Lord of the Rings DVDs back in the day was like in the spring, I think it was, no, I think it was like during the summer. In the summer, they would come out with the Lord of the Rings theatrical DVD or whatever. And so you'd run over to FYE or whatever, and they'd be like, "You want widescreen?" Or I always had it pre-ordered, and you want widescreen or full screen? I was like, widescreen, of course. I'm a cinema purist. Woo. And so I would watch it a bunch, and special features and stuff. And then a few months later, they would go and put out the doggone Fellowship extended cut. Did that same thing with Two Towers, same thing with Return of the King, same thing with the Blu-rays. It's not until this 4K that just came out a few weeks ago that they finally came out with an edition that had both like editions in the same damn thing. So New Line Cinemas have made so much freaking money off of these gosh darn Lord of the Rings discs, and I've owned
And
quite
Justin
a few
owns
of them.
all of them.
I don't know where a lot of them are. I've lost track of so much stuff. All right, so my top 10 of like Fellowship. So the number 10 moment was the formation of the Fellowship. So yeah, that's a cool scene of them. It's Rivendell, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Rivendell.
The movie, I mean, whenever you first start The Lord of the Rings, like it's like really easing you in. It's like pretty slow. Oh, and I was noticing that this time, like, there's a scene where, like, Sam makes a big deal about leaving the Shire or whatever, and it's, like, at sunset or whatever, and then they have that little that moment, it's like, oh, this is the furthest I've ever been away from home. And then all of a sudden, they're running into Merry and Pippin just in this like, farmer's field, and, like, so they just happen to be just as far as these guys. So there seems like a little weirdness in the continuity of how far they've gone away from the Shire. It's not until like Weathertop to where they're finally away. So it like takes forever for them to finally get away. And then I noticed this time in the extended cut how it opens on Bilbo like kind of writing about it, and then he thinks about Frodo, and it cuts to Frodo, and that's where the theatrical one starts. So anything did you want to say anything about the beginning of the Fellowship?
No, actually, the thing I was saying is you're talking about all the different cuts. So, like, I had only ever seen extended cuts because I had those DVDs.
Oh, wow.
I swear they're different than the Blu-rays because there was stuff I had not seen before. So, I don't know if they added more stuff, like, oh, we found more footage and put them in the Blu-rays. But I swear they were different because there was plenty of stuff I remember because I remember it opening with Bilbo. That's what I remember. But we got into some of the other movies and there was stuff I was like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah, I had the same experience. What
the fuck is going on? And so it was like, but I have the extended DVDs. So, but anywho, like you said, the formation of the Fellowship was a great scene, and. I think especially like the beginning scene, you definitely get to see, we were talking about earlier how like Merry and Pippin are the ones who cause all the mayhem and chaos, and you see it, when they take the dragon firework, and then...
What about second breakfast? Elevensies? There's so many quotable lines throughout the whole thing, just little stuff.
Yeah, and they're just kind of like pilfering from this farmer or whatever, and so they're the troublemakers or whatever. But in a not in like a bad way, I guess. I think obviously stealing is bad, but you know they're the rowdy ones, and Sam and Frodo are just the like kind of boring ones. I don't, and that's the wrong way to say that. It's not
What?
quite what I mean.
Oh
But
goodness.
they're more, I guess, like demure, like straight laced is what I'm getting at,
Oh yeah, for
comparatively
sure.
to those two. So
Okay. My number 9 moment is Arwen taking on the Nazgul. That's definitely the highlight of the beginning. I mean, that's like the big action moment. I've
oh,
always
it's
got a
so
kick out of the
good.
I've always got a kick out of the fact that they call Aragorn Strider for like a scene. He's like, "Ooh, that's Strider there," and then they meet him and he's Aragorn. And he's just Aragorn the rest of the time. You're like, so why even bother with the Strider name? I don't know. I guess we should. I'll say Tom Bombadil, but I haven't read the book in forever, so we'll leave it at Tom Bombadil. They left him out. A lot of people upset about that, and you've read the books now, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, it's one of those things that's like, even in the extended cuts, there's no Tom Bombadil, and it's still like 13 hours worth of movie. So like, do,
True.
do we really need another hour and a half plus to cover Tom Bombadil across all the movies or whatever? Like, I think we're good.
Yeah, I should probably read the. I'm actually reading some of the Redwall books with my son now. Maybe eventually we'll get to Lord of the Rings and I'll reacquaint myself with that singing, dancing fool from what I remember. Um, but yeah, Arwen's pretty. It's kind of a bummer that the Nazgul are not in more. I mean, they're heavy in the very beginning, and then they kind of get washed out, and then they come back big time in like Return of the King with their on their dragons or whatever that they're riding around. So it's kind of a bummer the Nazgul aren't more in the other ones. Um, so all right, next one would be the breaking of the Fellowship. So that's the part where Sam gets all emotional. It's like you can go, but you're not heading out without me or whatever. Yeah, because yeah, most of these movies, Frodo's just like, yeah, peace out, Sam. I'm gonna go do this by myself, even though I can't do it by myself. But yeah, man, Sean Astin really needed a doggone Oscar nomination for Best Supporting somewhere throughout here. He did an awesome job.
Yeah, he was really good. It's just that was back when they nominated way less people, and it's like you'd have to probably go back and look at who was and for what, and you know we're talking about that. Return of the King won, but a lot of people feel like it won because Two Towers didn't win the previous year, and they're like, oh shit, we fucked up, giving Chicago this best movie over Two Towers. So
Yeah, was anxious. Yeah, I mean the previous films won a bunch of technical awards, but yeah, it wasn't until that last year, and I was so happy when the return. It kind of felt like the culmination piece, so I kind of got over it. But
well, yeah, but I
I
mean,
don't
like,
mind Chicago. I saw that in theater the day
no,
after
I
it won.
love Chicago. I love Chicago. Like when we talked at our musical episode, it's like, as an older person, that was the movie that was like, oh yeah, musicals are awesome. Um, so I have nothing against Chicago, but it's like Best Picture, like Two Towers, like there's so much going on in that movie. Um, so I don't know, like I have no problem with Return of the King winning Best Picture that year. Like yeah, it beat was it Gangs and something else that was like real big, but
Nah, it was all about Return of the King. Better movie too. Anyways, we'll get there. The Wizard's Duel is my no.
well, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Return of the King is Return of the King is better than Gangs or better than the Two Towers?
The Two Towers.
Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting episode. Continue.
Two Towers is your favorite?
No, much like the trilogy people compare it to, yes, the second movie is the best movie
Oh
of the three.
no, no, no! You're out of your mind.
Uh,
Okay.
hot take. I know. Everyone thinks Return of the King is like the hottest shit. And don't get me wrong, it's fantastic.
All right, let's get through the
But
Fellowship first.
God,
All
okay.
right. Okay, so my next moment's the Wizard's Duel. Yeah, it's pretty badass watching Ganon square off against Sauron there. That might be the best. Is that the first action scene?
Hold on. Who square off again?
Saruman, sorry.
And who? I'm
Gandalf.
pretty sure you just said, because I definitely thought you said Ganon, and I was like, bro, are you playing Zelda?
No, Gandalf and Saruman, which I was going to bring that up earlier. So listening to the British like books or whatever, you get accustomed to saying instead of Legolas, which is the American version, you got Legolas, and then instead of Saruman, it's Saruman in the books when you're hearing them in the audiobook form. So yeah, just throwing that out there. But yeah, that's pretty badass. Man, I just love like Isengard with like I love the Uruk-hai music, the boom 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 ba-da-dum, bum bum bum. Love that theme. It's so cool to see like the camera sweep down and you see like the Uruk-hai getting like building and getting made and stuff, and then all of a sudden it'll shift into like this more flighty music where Gandalf's talking to a moth and flying off with an eagle, and so some great stuff there. 6 is the Mortar, the Eye of Sauron. So yeah, every time you put on the ring, that the big old eyeball flashes. Pretty creepy stuff. All right, my number 5, which is just kind of low for 5, but I guess my number 1 kind of plays into this. The Mines of Moria is fantastic. That's like your first like true battle scene. Whenever you get they go into that chamber room and they let in all the orcs. It's kind of funny when you're reading the books because like they switch between orc and goblin kind of like flippantly. It's like what's what, doesn't really matter. We're LOTR now, we're orcs. Yeah, the K-Troll. Get to see Sting light up and the Mithrin. They're the chain armor he wears. Yeah, was it a Merry or Pippin that knocked the skeleton down the well that like wakes up the whole place, and then they hearing the drum of the Balrog. What say you?
I mean, again, I said Merry and Pippin. They're the ones who cause all the problems. No, that's such a fantastic intro, I guess, to how the battles and stuff are going to go, and you see all of them working together, and leading up to the Balrog and everything. So yeah, no, it's a fantastic scene. I mean, all of the movies are fantastic. So like it's, but yeah, it's a very fantastic scene.
And then like whenever they start going up into the snowy mountains, love snow and mountains. And then like Saruman is like sending like all this stuff like attacking them from afar is pretty crazy. And then I love like the what the say friend and enter I remember specifically getting that in the book where you see that piece of art where they figure out how to enter the mines. My number 4 is the prologue. Yeah, the prologue's fantastic with them showing the previous Great War and seeing the elf army take on the forces of Mordor and seeing Sauron and what was the previous king? The
Isildur.
Isildur, yeah. I've heard it a billion times the last couple days and I forgot it now. Yep, take the ring and shrink down to his size, and prologues sets it up pretty nice. And my buddy Jake Knight, I remember talking to him about these movies, and he's just like, "Oh well, man, what a snore fest." I'm like, ugh. God, agree to disagree, I guess.
Oh, our brother Jake. Oh man, he thought these were Snorefest.
Yeah, he wasn't a fan. Although Hugh, I'm not. You would probably remember Hugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was big time into Lord of the Rings. He even had Lord of the Rings art book. So much Tolkien, J.J.R. Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien. One ring
guys.
to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. In the darkness bind them. It's quite cool. All right. My number 3 is the music for the whole trilogy. Like I mentioned, the drum beat and the Uruk-hai theme, fantastic. I already mentioned number 2. That's Boromir's Last Stand. There, I love that. Yeah, I just love them like tracking the Uruk-hai, like running, like following them, and then finally running into them and having that big, huge battle at the end of Fellowship. And Boromir doing his thing. He has his Gallarhorn. Um, yeah, Boromir. He's badass. He's only there for a short time. Poor Sean
I,
Bean.
no, not Ned Stark. Oh,
Mhm.
poor Ned Stark. Um, yeah, and like the thing that this that does so well is it sets up so much other stuff in like two and especially in three with Denethor and Faramir with him dying, and
Yeah.
it's and the fact that you see him, he succumbs to the power of the draw of the ring, and then you know like does his best to show his true colors,
Yeah.
because that's the ring corrupt everybody, especially men, the heart of men, and he is
Hmm.
valiant as he was and as good of a soldier and prince, or not prince but son of the steward or whatever, he was still,
Yeah.
he's like, he tries to hurt Frodo, and then just kind of goes out in that blaze of glory. That the scene where he's just standing there and the one orc takes the last
Hmm.
yeah,
Oh, and
that's
the sound of that the bow and arrow string like slowly getting pulled back, and Aragorn shows up.
yeah,
Cool, cool. And
that's
then Aragorn decapitates him. Good stuff.
I mean, and Aragorn is the decapitator.
Oh, and that's so badass. He stabs him in the chest with the sword, and the damn orc like brings it closer to him as he's growling his face. Oh, it's so awesome. Oh man, so many good memories watching this show, Fellowship of the Ring. And number one has to be the Belrog, the creature of the deep, this huge Satan monster winged thing that takes Gandalf down into the hole. Wow,
Yeah, he
it's
fell into Gandalf's trap. I mean, look, Gandalf came back even more powerful. He got all the XP for himself.
you shall not pass. Yeah, Belrog, pretty awesome. For the longest time, I would have said that Fellowship is my favorite, just because I love like the on the road feel of it. Like, I mean, once you get past that kind of slow beginning, like they're like on like an adventure, and I love that kind of adventure story. And then it's so bittersweet that there's more to go after it ends. So where so I'm assuming Fellowship is your second favorite then, or
Yes, I.
okay.
It's pretty close. Like sitting here thinking about it while we're talking about the different parts of it. Like I think it and Two Towers are really close at the top, and then like Return of the King is just right beneath both of them. So it's not like I think Return of the King is trash by any means. It's not like it's in Star Wars, which everyone wants to compare it to, where it's like Empire way at the top, and then A New Hope a little bit beneath it, and then like Return of the Jedi is like
Hmm.
well far down. But it is what it is.
Cool, cool. All right, well, we got more Lord of the Rings talk coming up right after this quick break. See you in a second. All right, and we are back talking about Lord of the Rings here on the Average Joe's Movie Club cast for our season 2 finale, part 2. Part 1 was Che. Make sure you check that one out too. We talked about those Criterion Che movies. But now let's talk about Two Towers. Little preference here because I was very surprised with this watch through. So whenever I would watch this, like, okay, so when the DVDs came out, I remember watching each of them. And then I remember picking up at least the Two Towers extended cut. No, I picked up all the extended cuts. But I watched the Fellowship extended cut all the way through. But I think for the Two Towers and Return of the King, I just like watched like certain scenes in there that I knew like I hadn't seen before. And you actually miss like a whole lot more of the movie. And so ever since then, like every few years, me and my dad get together and we watch his Lord of the Rings Blu-ray set like one night after another. Enjoyed doing that with him a couple times, and yeah, it's always been the theatrical cuts. And so, yeah, this time watching the extended cuts, like I'm watching like Two Towers, and there's all these extra like connective scenes throughout there. I'm just like, yeah, I'm really kind of getting more into the groove of this movie with like all this. It was like I knew it was coming, but there was still like fresh experiences in there. So this made it for a really, really satisfying watch.
It's yeah, like I think this is the one I've seen the most.
Okay.
For some reason, just I know it's kind of weird that it's the middle movie, but I feel like it's the one I've seen the most. It's probably Fellowship that I've seen the most because I'm gonna start the trilogy. You watch one, and then something happens and you can't finish it, or whatever. But
Right. Yeah. Same here. Um, Now the thing with Two Towers, like I really noticed this last time, like during my LOTR binge, is like the Rohirrans are fine, but I would say like throughout the whole thing, like going to Rohan is kind of like my least favorite part. Like from the part where they get to Rohan to where like, I mean the wargs are cool or whatever, and then like Aragorn like falls off and he disappears for a while, but then he finally gets back. Like that whole chunk in the middle, it always kind of dragged for me a little bit. So that's kind of what drags Two Towers down in my mind. But I mean, Helm's Deep's great. I've watched different copies of this movie to where like there's really bad like blue popping in the blue visual popping in the Helm's Deep scene, almost like it's supposed to be 3D but not. I mean, have you ever had that experience? Has the picture always looked great to you?
I don't really recall that. I've never had any issue with the picture or anything.
Okay.
But you're talking about being like in the middle of the movie, so the the part where after they talk to the Rohirrans and they go and find where they're burning the Uruk-hai bodies or whatever, and he kicks
Right.
that helmet. Yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
broke his foot. So his scream of agony in the movie is actually him really screaming in pain as he broke his foot. That being Aragorn. So
Nice.
Viggo Mortensen, yeah. And then when he fell off the cliff, he actually almost really fell off the cliff and died.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so he did not have a fun time.
I
Um,
th- I think the weirdest extra scene in here is like the whole thing about him like having extra long life and like Eowyn giving him that soup and he's like not into the soup at all, but he's just being nice and she won't leave him alone. And he's like having to force to drink this nasty ass soup while he's talking about how old he is. I definitely didn't remember that scene at all. Um,
I definitely that was actually a thing I remembered. So like that's an extra scene. Like that's just always been in the cut I've seen
sure.
is him being old.
So yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised. There was some, and I thought all the extra stuff in the beginning really made me, yeah, settled me into the movie before we got to Rohan. The part, like I'm always like, oh, okay, now we got to get through this part. That's kind of the thing with these movies is like you're like there's certain moments you definitely like, and so you're going like, okay, this part's okay. Oh, now we get to the really good part. Okay, now we got a little bit of a downtime. Oh, now we're back on one of the good parts again. So I mean, watching it 6 times in the theater, you really start to feel that. Um, nice. Let me get to my top moments for um, Two Towers. Stupid fat hobbit. Yes, Smeagol. Number
Mm.
10. Oh no! Smeagol's not 10. That would not be fair. No, casting Saruman out at Rohan, I would say that was probably my number 10.
Oh, dude, that's so good. And you see the transformation of the Theoden King, and
Hmm.
like, dude, no, that's so good. It's um such a good scene.
All right. Yeah, I've never been totally on board with Theoden. Although, okay, so here's another dork admission. So with my high school yearbook, I picked a Lord of the Rings quote, and in the movie, like my senior year of high school was when Two Towers came out, and so he has the quote, "If this is to be our end, let's make it an end worthy of remembrance," or whatever. And so I was a dork, and I went back to the book, and I wanted to make sure that was in the book. And it's actually they changed the line in the book. It's making it end worthy of a song. And I was like, I asked the guy in charge of the yearbook, and he's like, no one will notice. It's fine. So yeah, that's me being weird. All right. The Return of Gandalf. Yeah, what they're in the dark woods there, and he shows up as the White Wizard. And I like how it takes a while to get to that point in the extended cut. But oh my gosh, the Ents. I had forgotten how early on Merry and Pippin end up with the Ents, and they are just with them forever and ever and ever. And we get to see the Ents being very, very slow until you fuck with the trees, and then they're going to tear shit up right away.
Yeah. I mean, the ends were really cool. Like all of that in the woods was cool. You know, they're going, "Hey, we're going to take you to the White Wizard," and you're just like, "Oh God, they're going into the mouth of the evil," and then it's Gandalf. Like it's granted you don't see that until it's the actual what's left of the Fellowship, the three, and it's like, oh my God, like this is like that's number 9, bruh. I feel
Yeah.
like that should be much higher, but continue.
Oh, and then I have a bit of a admission here. So yeah, enjoying these Lord of the Rings extended cuts, Two Towers, and so I kind of fell asleep in the middle of this one. I was tired. Um, and so I wake up and I think I was like in the middle of the Helm's Deep battle. I'm like, ah, shit. And so I backed that shit all the way up and like watched the last like hour and a half again. So yeah, muscled through, watched the rest of it. Um, for the whole, this one was, oh, and I put that in my letterbox reviews, like how like at first you think these extended cuts are so much longer because like you look on like IMDb and it says it's 4 hours, and you look on there and it's like really only like Fellowship I think is like 320 and there's like 30 minutes worth of credits, and this one's like 340 with like 20 minutes of credits, and I think Return of the King is a solid 4 hours with 20 minutes worth of credits. So
I am pretty sure that extended cut was like 5 hours long.
oh
No, because we started watching it at 12 and we finished it at like fucking 5 o'clock.
all right.
That's no exaggeration.
So I did get all the way through. I had a little foul up with falling asleep just because it was late, and I think, did I have anything to drink that night? I might have. Yeah, I think I did. I was drinking a little bit left from when I had my Everclear or whatever. All right. So next we got tracking Merry and Pippin. I complained about this scene earlier, but for some reason I ranked it pretty high. I mean, it's a lot more enjoyable in the movie watching them, tracking the orcs. 7 is the wargs. Kind of already talked about that. Those are pretty badass. Gollum is my number 6. Yeah, if it wasn't for Gollum, like the Sam and Frodo stuff in this movie was pretty blah.
I mean, it's a movie about they're movies about walking. Even the fucking trees walk in these movies.
And then Faramir showing up at the end. Like, I remember the first time watching that and be like, oh yeah, Faramir. But yeah, Faramir doesn't do a lot for me these days. His brother is much better. Wow. Number 5 is the final stand at Helm's Deep. Look to
Ho. Fucking Helm's Deep, the culmination of the movie. That's number 5.
I didn't look at this ahead of time. I didn't change anything up. This was back then. No, I think the final stand is let's see here. No, we'll get there. I think the final stand refers to whenever Gandalf shows up on the top of the hill, and the light shines, and then they rush him. I think that's what that is about. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the light at the light at the 5th day is number 5. Okay.
Yeah. So this is like the climax of Helm's Deep, not actually Helm's Deep. It's like the whole thing.
Okay. Okay.
Number 4 is the opening with the opening's awesome to this movie with like it's showing Gandalf and the Balrog throwing down on that, and I spiked his remains on the mountain or whatever. How do you open the second act of a 9+ hour story? Yeah. Yeah, Gandalf battling the Balrog. Pretty awesome way to open it. Very unexpected. I remember being very surprised when that happened. I have the Ents all the way up at number 3. It's probably the Ents like taking down Isengard is fantastic. All the lead up to that, a little slower. Number 2, Gimli and Legolas's rivalry at Helm Deep. Okay, yeah, that's some good stuff. I mean that encompasses like the whole like throw me thing, and then like the skateboarding down the stairs and all that jazz.
Don't tell the elf. You're gonna have to toss me, yeet me, but you don't tell the elf.
And then number 1 is the Uruk-hai's march to Helm's Deep, and like the beginning of the Helm's Deep battle, where like it's like pouring down raining, and they got these pikes, and they're like hammering it on the ground, and then finally I think the dude's like releases an arrow to like accidentally and like starts the battle, and Helm's Deep. What can you say? It's pretty epic part of this trilogy. Can't go wrong with Helm's Deep.
No, you really can't.
But yeah, the fact that this movie drags a few points makes it a solid third for me in the trilogy.
Okay, so this movie dragged to you, but the movie that is literally 5,000 hours long didn't?
Nope.
Okay. Continue along, Mr. Superfan. Continue. Take us into the Return of the King.
All right, so
Not the Jedi, the King, the superior return. I'm just gonna beat that home, Kevin Smith, Randall Graves.
now I firmly remember getting the extended cut of. I guess I should go back to my theater experience. Oh, I forgot something about Two Towers. So I was really pissed at the end of Two Towers the first time I watched it, because my favorite part that's in the Two Towers book that's not in the movie, because they changed around like the ordering of things. Because you know how Two Towers is supposed to end?
With Shelob.
Right. And so like it was watching that in the theater and seeing like, I'm thinking like, there's going to be a spider scene coming up, but instead the camera, pans up and you just see like dragons and Mount Doom and stuff. That was a kick in the nuts, knowing that I was going to have to wait a whole year to see Shelob. So I've always had a little bit of a beef with Two Towers because of that. All right. So yeah, Return of the King came out freshman year of college. Watched it so many times. Gosh, so many great battles. I mean, again, it starts off a little slow. I mean, they're with the the Rohirrim, and finally they get the beacons lit, and then things start getting going. I always remember that taking a while. In terms of extended stuff, I thought all the extended scenes of them going and talking to the dead army or whatever. Like there's a scene of like Gimli just kind of blowing away at like ghosts or whatever. That was fantastic. There's a whole big chunk of the hobbits like going through Mordor that was cut out of the theatrical, which was really cool to see. That's like whenever they're trying to hide and like they start a fight in order to like avoid getting seen. And then those are the scenes I noticed like this time. Like whenever I originally saw it, like you can't go wrong with the fact that they actually show Saruman get killed in this one. The extended cut.
Yeah, see, like I didn't know that was an extended scene, like at all.
Okay.
Again, having not watched the theatrical cuts, I guess I should at some point. But like
You haven't seen them at all, huh?
No, I've only ever
wow.
seen extended. But like I said earlier,
Wow.
I am pretty sure that there was stuff that these felt even more extended, because there was just stuff I was like, I don't remember this at all, not even like vaguely, because apparently it's been a little bit longer since I watched them than it probably should have been.
What were some of the things? Can you think of some of those moments?
Like the when Aragorn's like healing Blondie, like I didn't remember that. And it just lasted forever, and it felt super extended. Or like when they're about to ride out to.
I got really confused at that part. You talking about Eowyn, right?
Yeah.
Like after she takes down the Witch King.
Yeah.
Like there's like So I'm sitting there watching that, and all of a sudden, like it makes her like the one dude's like, no, Aowen or whatever. I'm like, wait a minute, she died? What's going on here? And
Oh,
then
Ymir, her brother.
yeah, and so like I never really saw a clear moment to where like they showed her like possibly die. So I thought that was kind of confusing.
I
But
think it was like the blowback from the Witch King dying. I think
ah,
like he exploded kind of.
weird.
But yeah, or some she was standing there and like another orc stabbed her. So I don't remember exactly, but that and then they're about to ride out to after Denethor is the bastard that he is, and he's like Faramir, be like your brother. Your brother wouldn't have let it fall, and he's
Gosh.
and sends him back out to a death mission. But
Yep.
they're about to like all of them are like riding through Minas Tirith, and it's just this real big pomp and circumstance showing like the horse's hooves and like it's really pretty and it's really cool. And it's like this is
Yeah,
something that's
whenever
like
Mary's is it Mary singing the song? No, it's Pippin. Pippin's the Denethor's.
yeah, I think that's right. Um,
Whenever he's singing, sing me a
I
song.
like I think it's during the song or maybe like right after, but it was just they're all riding down and then they take like a specific shot of like the horse's hooves and like
Yep.
the horse heads bouncing up and down. Like it's a really cool shot. It looks really awesome, but I was just like, bruh, you cut this part of this scene out. You cut the stuff with healing homegirl and then all the stuff with Faramir and her, and it's like all you had to do was show them at the end standing side by side, hand in hand, and we're like, oh look, they're together, cool. Like,
There was an extra scene that reminds me of there's a scene where Pippin is telling Faramir about like they're talking about Pippin's armor and Faramir's like, yeah, that used to be my armor. Um so there was some a little bit more relatable scenes. You actually build Faramir's character a little bit better in their relationship between him and Pippin. So yeah, it's interesting that you don't quite see all these lines that I do since I'm so familiar with the theatrical cuts. Um,
I mean, there was definitely some that just they felt like they were extended scenes, and it's like, yeah, this feels like it's not shouldn't be there.
like
Um,
like for instance, whenever they go see the Ghost Army, the scene where like the scene where Aragon goes out of the cave or whatever is not in the theatrical. Like in the theatrical, it's like, what say you? What say you? And then you don't see them again until they rush the field later on. Like the whole part where they're like taking over those ships is not in the theatrical at all. So they cut all of that out.
okay, that's a thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like there's some really good stuff, and for the life of me, I have no idea why they cut out the mouth. So you know what the mouth of Sauron is?
Yeah.
That weird looking dude who's like talking shit to him whenever they get to the gates of
Oh,
Mordor.
yeah. That guy, the guy who gets decapitated.
Yeah, I loved that in the book, and then I was super pissed that it wasn't in the movie, and then I found out it was going to be in the extended cut, and I made sure to check out that scene. It's pretty solid.
I mean, oh yeah, he's like, what is it like? Sauron's not going to listen to you or whatever, and he just cuts his head off. He's just like,
Yeah,
get out of here.
yeah, I don't know why they cut that out. That's craziness.
Probably because they're like, this movie's long AF, and we need to cut something. So,
Maybe we could have cut down on the cherry tomatoes a little bit. I don't know.
oh yeah, like maybe that Slavin.
Or maybe we could have cut a few of the beacons out of the mountains. Maybe.
Oh yeah, there were so many.
Who's manning the random snowtop beacon?
Just
So,
random peeps, I guess, living up there in the mountains.
yep. Just in case they gotta light those beacons. I remember. Okay, so the book ends with the hot. So like they actually cut it. I know you're kind of complaining about how there's so many endings in this, but you know how they cut out one of the endings.
It's been a long time since I've read the book, so no.
Okay, so there's a chat.
Wait. When they return to the Shire.
Yeah, the scoring of the Shire, where Saruman has taken over the Shire and is like burning it, and then that's
Well,
where war.
It's kind of hard to have that when Saruman's already dead.
Well, they didn't. Well, we didn't know that in the theatrical cut because they didn't. They cut out the last time. I think in the theatrical cut, like Saruman like sneers at them at the top of Isengard, and that's the last we see of him. We never see him die in the theatrical cut.
Okay.
So I like since I knew what the end of the book was, like I was all expecting to see the scoring of the Shire scene at the ending. In hindsight, it probably is better that they made it that way. And the Shelob scene does work really well where it's at. Um, but yeah, I thought I felt a little deflated, bittersweet at the first time I ever finished the trilogy. It being over number one, and then me knowing some of the things that were cut out number two. So all right, I guess I can pull up my scenes now. All right, so my number 10 would be the longest ending ever. Well, yeah, let's. I mean, where do you wish it would have ended?
I think there was two spots where it really could have ended. It could have ended when no man bows to you, and then they all bow to the hobbits. Like that's a perfect ending.
Uh huh.
Like because everyone's giving the hobbits their due. Um, Aragorn's got his girl. They're all bowing to them. Boom, like great is wrapped up. But then it shows them going back to the Shire, which okay, they all talked about going back home. So okay, you show them back home. They're in the pub. They all clink the cups. Boom, could have ended right there. Would have been fantastic. Instead of we see Bilbo going with the elves, and then homeboy Sean Astin getting married, and having some kids, and
Yep.
we see him giving the book to Sam for him to finish it because he's also leaving. Like all of that just felt like really unnecessary. But it is what it is. It's not like it's a bad ending or anything. There's just so many, especially the one where it cuts for like it's a black cut for forever.
That's right before the Eagles, right? Like you almost think that it's going to end there at Mount Doom.
That's before the Eagles show up. Like I think it's like right after they throw the ring burns or whatever, and it's like, oh, all right. And then also, did the ring sitting on top of the lava, like for whatever reason I was like, this feels like Terminator 2.
No, that's
So
I can see that, but no, that's never crossed my mind. But yeah, it's kind of cool how it takes a while for it to break down and get absorbed into the lava. Um, yeah, I mean they got to go to the Grey Havens, so it has to be after that. Debatable if you really need to end on Sam saying, I'm home. I mean, it's fine. I mean, you've sat through all those other endings by that point. Why not? Um, there's also, it seems like whenever Sam's like looking at Frodo longingly in bed or whatever, after they all come see him, it feels like it could have ended there. I mean, he was just, I mean, Jackson just like, I'm going to take as long as I want and milk this as much as I can. And ever since, people have been talking about it.
oh yeah, I mean, as I've quoted Clerks 2 a lot throughout this, because I mean, obviously I love Kevin Smith and I love Clerks 2. One of the big things in that movie is they have that whole scene where it's Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings, and it's honestly, like, why not just love both? Like they're both really good, they're both really different.
Yeah.
But that whole line of that Sam gives Frodo that I'm sorry, Frito. Sam gives Frito that gay look or whatever, and then saunters over, and then Sam straight bricks in Frodo's mouth. Like I just had to make the joke, but like yeah, that's I mean that would have been a good ending point too. Like like I said, there were so many places that it could have ended, and not felt like, oh, this is an end. Nope. Oh, this is an end. Nope. And maybe he was going for like, this is this end, and this is like another ending, and especially when they're talking about how it's been like 4 years, and it's like, why do we need to know what's happened in 4 years? Like, but
Well, I mean, Frodo finishes, writing the Lord of the Rings, and his wound from Weathertop still hindering him or whatever.
Which, I mean, does tie into it's a wound he'll carry with him his whole life. I mean, that's, there's something for that. But at the same time, I really it should have just ended with them bowing to them on the top of Minas Tirith, but it is what it is. Like, it's not like it's a bad ending by any means or anything.
Oh, Smeagol turns into Gollum. Once again, Jackson was so clever to begin the... Oh, okay. So this is the opening where they actually show how, like, he used to be a hobbit and, it's my birthday and he murders his buddy or whatever there at the beginning. So yeah, that was an awesome, way to kind of open things up and show Gollum's backstory.
Yeah, I don't think he was a hobbit. They said he was like a hobbit and that he was a river people. That's why he got so obsessed so quickly with the ring compared to like Frodo or Bilbo.
Okay. Yeah, like a hobbit. I've heard various things.
Yeah, you weren't so very different from a hobbit once, and I think in one of the earlier movies, Gandalf called him like, oh, he was river people.
Andy Serkis, yeah, we finally get to see him. Without all the CGI, that bite into the fish. Oof. All right, so 8 is Pippin and the Seeing Stone. Yeah, that seems pretty awesome. He's so curious about seeing it, and in the theatrical cut, he just comes up. So the theatrical cut actually picks up where like he sees the Seeing Stone in the water and he picks it up and is curious about it. Where it's really nice in the extended cut, you actually see Saruman die and drop it there. So a little difference.
Full of a took.
Number 7, Vision from the Future. Now, for my most underrated moment, I really appreciate when Arwen is brought back into the story and has a vision of her future son. Okay, I didn't remember writing that, but yeah, that's pretty touching, especially when you finally become a parent seeing that. So,
cool. Yeah, and it's just that of a character that should have been in the movie more. She's the one who should have been in the movie more, but
All right,
badass elf chick.
Aragorn arrives at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Okay, so that's with the Ghost Army. It seems pretty high for me. I mean, it's pretty cool how like they swarm like everything there. That battle just felt so much more fulfilling in the longer cut because I remember in the longer cut like Gandalf and Pippin or whatever are like, oh gosh, I mean, this is like almost over. And then the Rohirrim show up. And it's like, it really makes like Minas Tirith feel really, really desperate at that point. And then, the Rohan come, and then all of a sudden the wild men come with the elephants, and then, finally the ghost army. So, and I mean, the setup to all that's freaking fantastic with all those siege towers, and, they got the wolf. That was another really strange cut to black. Did you notice that whenever they introduced the battering ram, they cut to black for like a couple seconds?
I don't remember it. It might have just felt like more of a regular cut. I don't remember it being that long of a cut.
Okay. Oh, next is the Twisted Staircase. So that's Gollum finally getting the best of Frodo as he tricks him into thinking Sam is eating the elvish bread. Oh, I forgot to say back in Fellowship, like I think I could go with just watching the theatrical version of Fellowship. But there's 2 scenes from Fellowship. I think it's the opening with Bilbo, and then like when Galadriel's giving him all those gifts. That's much more abbreviated in the theatrical. So it's nice to see all those gifts being given. But all right. So let's see. The Battle at the Black Gate is my number 4. So that's pretty much the climax. It's great stuff there.
Yeah, and like we said, with him cutting off the mouth of Sauron's head. Yeah, that was really good. I was a big fan of that.
And then once the ring go... Oh, go ahead.
And I was going to say, and at that point, he's riding out in the garb of Gondor as opposed to his
Yep.
ranger
With
garb.
the
So you're
tree.
like, okay, he's full bore now. So
Yup, yup. Oh, I was gonna say whenever like the ring goes in, like the eye basically explodes and makes all the people like instantly fall into like pits of despair and goes completely around all the good guys. Very convenient.
yeah, it's very convenient.
My number three, Battle of the Pelennor Fields. So that's pretty much what I was describing just a few minutes ago with how, yeah, it's awesome in the
Yeah,
extended
it's
cut.
it's it's epic. Like, let's be real, that's just an epic battle scene. It's just so grandiose, and there's just so much going on. And then you talk about the elephants earlier, the Oliphants, and that's where, as I put it earlier, Legolas was back on his bullshit,
Uh-huh.
just sliding on the trunk and
Yeah.
doing all the things that he does.
And then there's all those cool Nazgul dragons, like, and they're like the Minas Tirith folks are trying to like sling rocks at them and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good battle.
I guess number two is the actual Mount Doom scene. You finally get there, and Frodo, he wants to hold on to the ring, and Sam's like, "No, get rid of it, get rid of it."
Um, Very much mirroring Elrond and Isildur.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, throw it in. No, it's mine. It's like it's not a one for one mirror, but it's very very similar. That even like the hobbits who are so pure, the one who's carrying it is like, no, I'm not gonna throw it in.
Mm-hmm. I love that it's like a downward shot upwards. You can really get the feel of them being kind of hobbits, like smaller, folks. From like that look up on top of like the cliff where they're at. Yeah, and that merges into Gollum, really being kind of the one who's the tragic hero because his lust for the ring is what causes him to bite Frodo's finger off, and they tussle, and he ends up in the lava. There's a lot of Led Zeppelin references to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin and Blind Guardian. Blind Guardian has a whole album called Nightfall and Middle Earth.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, they're a European power metal band. Like, that album came out in like the 90s, so it was well before the movies, Not
Yeah.
in the 80s, I don't even remember specifically. Um,
And of course, Shelob is my favorite. I'm not sure if that exactly holds up now. I've seen it so many times. It's fantastic. Especially like when Sam. I mean, you're never gonna see it for the first time again, but I mean, it's cool how there's like a creepy element, and it kind of gets back into the whole more like fantasy adventure aspect with the spider, and then battles the spider, and good stuff. Wish it was in Two Towers, but it fits pretty nicely, kind of in the middle of this movie.
that's why you dislike Two Towers so much, is because they put the spider in the third one, and then that's why you like the third one, because of the damn spider.
Gosh, looking all through all these comments of people on my review. Goodness. All right. So, yeah, we didn't go through these things chronologically, but I think we pretty much talked about most there is to talk about. Is there anything left?
I don't I don't think so. No, I think we did a good go through of the trilogy. Like, so like I
Unfortunately, if you did listen to the last show, and I had said like, please share your favorite trilogy moments, and nobody shared. So, but we would love to hear from people. So please email the show. Um, all right, yeah. I mean,
yeah
all three of them are 5-star bangers for me.
I did 5, 5, and 4.5. Although I had them all at 5, but I mean, it's just this one, the Return of the King. It just dragged so much. Like there was like two different times we had to pause it, and each time there was still like an hour left on each disc, and we were like, we've been watching this for 100 years already. So, but no, it's a great end to a great trilogy. Like, the trilogy overall is a 5. Like, um, fantastic movies. Like, they just did some great things, and in the cinema, like in the cinema, and like in cinematography, and just everything along the way. Like, I think it's fantastic. And I'm glad I picked this for us to watch. I kind of wish we had watched it when it wasn't so chaotic for me because it made it hard to carve out the time. But um, it also kind of gave me something good, and also in like a time of chaos going around in my personal life and at work and stuff. So it kind of evened itself out. It was like I could just chill and escape into Middle Earth and forget everything that's going on around me. So
Nice. Um, I think like a last nugget was I was such a dork in my freshman year of high school. What I did was I was so excited whenever Lord of the Rings became like the number one at the box office, and it was there for like ever. It was like weeks and weeks and weeks. And can you recall what the movie that knocked it off was?
so this would have been our
2001 ish. So
so it was
sometime
at
in
the
this, sometime late winter, spring 2001, a movie knocked off Fellowship finally
so our
after like
sophomore year.
12. No, Fellowship of the. Oh, that's junior year of high school.
Yeah, junior, senior, yeah, junior. So
It was directed by Ridley Scott.
well, it was not Gladiator because that was like 1999. So it must have been Kingdom of Heaven.
It was actually Black Hawk Down is what finally knocked
Oh,
Fellowship off of the top of the box office. So I always
well,
remember that.
it
I wouldn't
makes
see it.
sense for that time period as well. So
I saw that opening night as well. So I need to watch that again.
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. I kind of want to rewatch it, but
Cool,
so
cool. All right, I guess we'll put Lord of the Rings to bed. Yeah, love the trilogy. Oh, I keep forgetting to say. I kind of hinted to this at this like the whole time, but like yeah, this extended cut watch has been like the most satisfying watch of the trilogy because like that first time I watched it all the way through, I had that bittersweet feeling, but this time like having seen all the extended cuts for the first time, getting through all of it, and yeah, I just had a blast watching Return of the King last night. It's my favorite one of them just because of the adventure feel, the conclusion of it all, and the battles and stuff. I don't mind all the endings. Yeah, so it was by far the most satisfying experience through the trilogy. So, and I would have never, I didn't, as, oh, and that brings up a whole nother story, real quick. So yeah, I really appreciate you, getting us to watch the extended cuts. I actually had some Return of the King resentment at one point because what happened was my little nephew, like what, like growing up, like Return of the King was his favorite movie, and so he would always go to my dad's house, and every time he was over there, they would always watch Return of the King, and it would always grind my gears because I'm a traditionalist. Like if I'm gonna watch Lord of the Rings, I gotta watch Fellowship, and then I gotta watch Two Towers, and then I gotta watch Return of the King. But they're just constantly just watching Return of the King without just throwing wind to the rest of them. So I had the strangest resentment towards this movie for the longest time. So
I mean, no, it's the third movie in a trilogy, like you got to build up to it. Like I get once you kind of seen it probably like as many times as you, like yeah, you probably just throw in Return of the King, but like there was so much stuff I had forgotten and because like somehow it had just been a long time since I watched these. Like I hadn't watched them since I started Letterboxd, and I started Letterboxd in 2017. So it'd been at least 3 years, if not longer, probably closer to like 4 or 5. So this is definitely a good pick. I'm glad we did it.
cool.
So
So this is the end of season 2. So yeah, we'll pick it up with another episode after the winter holidays, sometime in January, I guess, right?
yeah, and I guess we got some stuff to do to set that up. I guess you got a movie to reveal and a category to give me, and I've got to
Oh
spin the
yeah,
wheel.
I almost forgot about the category. I do have it. All right, so you gave me the category of anime.
Yes, and anime.
Okay.
And I've been waiting with bated breath for this for weeks now.
All right. So did you have any idea what it is?
We have a guess.
Okay. Well, I did hint.
We
I did hint at what this was in the show, so that's the reason I ask.
Oh, I completely missed it. But
Okay.
um,
All
our
right.
guess was that you would pick Akira or Akira.
Oh, Akira? No.
Yeah. And the reasoning behind that is because of how much you love the Criterion collection. And I always make the joke, it's like, is the Criterion, is this a masterpiece? Like, so yeah, no, it was like 1,000%. This was on Laserdisc. He's just gonna fucking slam it home. That or like Vampire Hunter D, because it's old and classic. But it was like
yeah.
Akira was especially when you said you weren't doing a Ghibli, because we also were like, it was Akira and it's like or Studio Ghibli, like kind of what I was expecting.
I thought about The Wind Rises. I actually picked this movie pretty much as not long after you told me the category, like when we were still on air or still recording. But I kind of watched a few YouTube videos just to see like what the most famous animes were of all time, and yeah, my opinion just was not getting swayed. I picked 2006 from Satoshi Kon, Paprika.
Okay, I've heard of that. I've never seen it, but I have heard of it.
I've heard it's very likely that Christopher Nolan was inspired. Inception was inspired by Paprika.
Okay, dude, I'm in.
And if you follow the rabbit hole down even further, apparently there's old like Donald Duck cartoons that kind of reference this whole idea of traveling through dreams. So and Satoshi Kon, have you seen like Perfect Blue? It's the same director.
Mm-mm. I have not seen a ton of anime, which is another reason I picked this. So,
this is your brain on anime is the tagline. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch Paprika forever, but so yeah, having to pick an anime, yeah, I've seen Akira once, so that's the Criterion Laserdisc. That was one of my early reviews, so I really do need to get back to Akira and write a decent review on that. But
I haven't seen that since high school, so
okay. But yeah, pick the one I hadn't seen before. And so to round out the next show, we got a new feature. We're doing the Wheel of Destiny, which Joey has 50 movies that he would like to see, hasn't seen before. No.
There's a couple of rewatches in there. Not many. I think it's 40 new movies and 10 rewatches or something along those lines. And I've watched 6 of these 50 movies that are in here. So
okay. Yeah. So spin away, and we'll see where fate takes us with the other part of this episode. Exciting.
All right, here we go. All right, and can you see that?
Number 49 on your list.
49. So we're gonna roll over here. Nope, that's the wrong tab. All right. Oddly enough, this is a movie I just bought on Black Friday. It's Knives Out.
Oh no, I didn't like that movie.
Oh.
I guess I'm gonna have to give it another shot. Ugh.
Yeah. And these are. I did this one. Did I sort these chronologically?
Another Rian Johnson movie.
Yeah, well, I like Rian Johnson, so
I like half of his stuff.
I think everything of his that I have seen so far, I've been.
I'm not a Looper fan, and I wasn't a Knives Out fan, but I liked The Last Jedi, and I liked Brick. So
I loved all 3 of his movies that I've seen, which are the 3 you just named. I thought all 3 were fantastic.
Knives Out and Paprika. It's gonna be a wild season 3. All right. So if how are we gonna end this here? So
I was gonna say you have a category for me, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're not done yet. There's all kinds of good stuff. All right. So your category is I would like you to pick a Stanley Kubrick movie that was made at 1964 or later.
1964 or later Kubrick movie.
That means
okay.
you cannot pick anything pre Dr. Strangelove, because I'm quite certain you probably would have done that to me, and I did not want you to do that.
What, Strangelove? But I've
no, 64 or beyond. So you can start with Strangelove all the way to Eyes Wide Shut. So you can pick between Strangelove, 2001, A Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut, and The Shining.
Well, I will probably pick one I have not seen, but
I have
I
have kind of a hunch, but yeah, we'll see where you go with it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you've seen everything. 'Cause you're a fucking fanboy.
I haven't seen Killer's Kiss, so I should probably get to that one of these days. But yeah, we're going to finally watch our first Kubrick film on the podcast in season 3.
Is that really going to be the first Kubrick movie?
It is.
Okay.
I mean, we kind of brushed across The Shining one time, but it wasn't like a, hey, we're going to talk about The Shining now.
I guess that's fair.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. All right. So Paprika and then Kubrick.
So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us here on the Average Joe's Movie Club cast. Listening to us talk all about our Lord of the Rings. And, yeah, let us know that you're listening to us. We really appreciate you. We love all our Letterboxd followers. How do they get in touch with us, Joey?
I mean, it's the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast at gmail.com. We do have the Facebook page, which is the Average Joe's Movie Clubcast, which has a special little button you can press just to hit that and email us. Like Justin said, we would love to hear from you. We would love some input. You know, what did you think about this episode, or what do you think about Lord of the Rings, or
we kind of changed it up this time. Maybe that was better off the cuff.
Yeah, off the cuff. I did enjoy it. Or what do you think about what we're going to be doing to start season 3? I mean, that's a hell of a combo we have going on there. So, and interesting with Justin not already liking this movie. It's usually me who hates one of the movies. So,
oy vey. Yeah, there's always one movie a year that everyone's like, that was such a good time, and I'm like, no, that was smug and disgusting. I hated it.
And then I'm real interested to see what I pick when we come back, and I'm interested to see what's on your Wheel of Destiny.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of swapping, so yeah, it's very interchangeable. So yeah, just see what comes to the top of the pile when it comes time. All right. So Joey, why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about Lord of the Rings. I mean, yes, but also movies in general.
Good night, everyone.
Later.
One ring to rule them all, in the darkness bind them.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
The moment of heart-rate feeling, spirit is something. I think this just might be my masterpiece.